Have you ever been in a moment where a single offhand comment made you so angry you trembled, or quietly sad for the rest of the day? Maybe it was a mild criticism, a careless remark, or even a disapproving glance. And just like that, your mood plummets, emotions spiral, and negative energy clings to you like you've been pushed off a cliff. Strangely, the person who said it probably didn't think twice, but you're deeply affected. And it's not just once, it happens again and again. You wonder, why am I so sensitive? Why do others control my emotions so easily? The truth is, no one can trigger you unless there's an unhealed wound inside you. You're not reacting to the event, you're reacting to the meaning you assign it. Every time someone makes you feel angry, hurt, afraid, or jealous, an unconscious belief, an old memory, or an unresolved story within you is stirred. If you don't see this, you'll forever be a puppet, reacting instinctively whenever someone hits the right button. But you can change that. Once you grasp what's shared in this video, you'll reclaim control over your emotions. You'll live with a mind as steady as a mountain, unshaken by others' words or actions. From that moment, you're no longer driven by reactions, but choose responses with awareness. If you're ready to break free from the emotional game and master your inner world, keep watching. And if you're serious about true freedom, comment now. I choose to master my emotions. Hit like to mark this new beginning, and subscribe to join the journey of building unshakable inner strength. Core concept: reactions are stories, not truth. When someone says something that hurts, angers, or offends you, what's your first reaction? Do you think they're wrong? That they're rude, insensitive, or disrespectful? Pause for a second and ask, are they really hurting me? Or am I reacting based on an old story in my head that I haven't even noticed? Your reaction isn't about the event's objective, right or wrong. It's about how you interpret it, shaped by patterns you've internalized. Emotions don't come from reality, but from your inner narrative. The story you've convinced yourself is true. These stories, repeated in your mind for years, become so ingrained you can't distinguish reality from interpretation. For example, a colleague says, "I think this approach isn't effective." Sounds neutral, right? But you feel attacked, irritated, hurt. Why? Because you're telling yourself, they think I'm incompetent, I'm not good enough, I'm being undermined. That story, not the original comment, is what causes your pain. And it won't stop at one instance. That story, that you're always undervalued, that you're not enough, will replay every time a similar situation arises. It doesn't come from others, but from something within you, a childhood criticism, a past rejection, an unhealed wound. Your mind plays the same old tape, you react the same old way, and the cycle continues invisibly. Stoics understood this over 2,000 years ago. Epictetus said, "People are not disturbed by events, but by the way they think about them." This simple yet profound insight frees you from victimhood. It puts responsibility back in your hands, not to blame yourself, but to realize you can change how you react by changing the story in your head. Imagine this. You're driving, and a car behind you honks loudly, speeds past, and the driver yells something before racing off. You're furious, feeling disrespected. How dare they treat me like that? Who do they think they are? You might stew all morning over those 10 seconds. But what if you knew the driver was rushing their child to the hospital in a life or death emergency? Instantly, your anger shifts to empathy. The situation didn't change. Only the story in your head did. This shows your emotions don't stem from others' actions, but from the meaning you assign to them. If you don't see this, you'll live like a puppet, jerked by others' strings. A slightly sharp comment, and you explode. Someone forgets to greet you, and you're down all day. Someone disagrees, and you feel threatened. That's not freedom. It's emotional dependency, a soft but dangerous prison. Emotional freedom begins when you realize My reactions are choices, not fixed instincts. Between stimulus and response, there's a tiny gap, a fleeting moment where, if you're awake enough, you can step in and choose differently. You can ask, what story am I believing? Is it true? Is there evidence to the contrary? Can I see this situation through a different lens? Just asking these questions stops the autopilot. You're observing, and observation is the first step to inner power. Those with high inner strength aren't immune to hurt. They feel emotions too, but they don't react unconsciously. They see the wave of emotion, name it, trace its source, and choose a wise response. They might say, "Thanks for the feedback, I'll think it over," instead of lashing out or shrinking back. The best part? You can train this skill. Every day offers practice. Someone says something that stings? Don't react instantly. Pause. Write or think. I feel because I believe. For example, I feel belittled because I believe they're judging me as inferior. Then ask, is that belief definitely true? And finally, can I choose a different story? Journaling this daily helps you see the unconscious scripts you're living by. Once you see them, you can rewrite them. Because every story you believe was created, and what's created can be recreated. You don't need to master this instantly. Just start by pausing for a second before reacting, breathing, observing the emotion, and questioning the story. Bit by bit, you'll find you're less easily triggered. You'll feel lighter, deeper, calmer, freer. If you've reacted strongly to seemingly harmless words, you're not wrong. You've just been wearing tinted glasses for too long without realizing it. But starting today, you can begin to take them off. No rush, no need for perfection, just a little more awareness than yesterday. If you're ready to live from a place of choice rather than reflex, comment, "I choose to rewrite the story in my head." Hit like if you've ever been driven by emotions without knowing why. Share this video with a friend stuck in a reaction loop, because one right insight can unlock a vast inner freedom you've never stepped into before. Subscribe if you want to keep walking this path of awareness, where no one can trigger you unless you allow it, and you won't allow it anymore. From now on, you're rewriting the script. You're not an actor in an old play. You're the director of your own life. Societal conditioning, the reactive trap. No one is born reacting instinctively to the world. Intense, impulsive, negative reactions are learned, and you learn them early. As a child, you're gradually programmed through adults' looks, praise, criticism, grades, rewards, punishments, and the comparisons they unknowingly plant in your mind. Society teaches you to react to be accepted, to be loved, to survive. Over time, you stop living from the inside out and become a reflex machine. Triggered by a signal, you fire off a familiar response. Look at the school system. High grades earn rewards. Mistakes bring scolding. No one asks what you learned from your errors or how hard you tried. Everything is measured by immediate results. This system doesn't teach you to recognize emotions, take responsibility, or sit with failure. It teaches you to escape vulnerability through achievements and praise. You grow up believing, my worth lies in others' eyes. Reaction becomes a survival instinct. The danger is that modern society, especially social media, deepens this reactive habit. A negative comment, a sarcastic post, a cryptic message, just one tap and you explode. You rage, retort, justify, vent, or retreat into silent insecurity. You think you're defending yourself, but you're being pulled by an old script, a subtle psychological trap built from collective unconsciousness. Stoicism doesn't deny emotions, but insists. If you don't master your reactions, others will master them for you. Society, by cleverly triggering your reflexes, does just that. You're criticized. You must react. You're misunderstood. You must argue. You're rejected. You must prove yourself. These are raw ego responses, not wrong, but not yet mature. Today's society thrives on chain reactions. Someone rages, you rage back. Someone boasts, you feel inferior. Someone performs, you feel pressured to outdo them, not because you want to, but because you fear falling behind. Reaction becomes an unconscious chase. You forget where you're going. You just keep running. In that race, you lose yourself. A Stoic doesn't get swept into this reactive wave. They don't let society dictate their emotions. They pause while others rush. They stay silent while others scream. They look at a behavior and ask, is this worth reacting to? Does it touch my core values? Can I respond in a way that preserves my inner peace? This doesn't mean eternal silence or becoming an unfeeling stone. It means being awake enough to know which reactions are necessary and which are just old habits replaying. You break the autopilot. You pause and observe. In that moment, you start truly living, not just existing. To escape the reactive trap of society, do three things. First, identify your triggers. Who, what, or which situations make you lose emotional control. Write them down. Make a clear list. Knowing your buttons gives you a chance to unplug them. Second, redefine your self-worth. If your value depends on others' approval, you'll always be at their mercy. But if it comes from living true to your principles, no one can take that away. Each morning ask, what will I live by today? Kindness, honesty, discipline, courage. Choose and commit. This gives you a steady anchor, immune to the crowd's pull. Third, practice the conscious pause. When emotions surge, don't speak, don't text, don't act. Breathe deeply and ask, is what I'm about to do driven by ego or by my values? One simple question can stop anger, regret, or a relationship-damaging move. The more you practice, the more you'll see many situations don't need a reaction. Someone's tactless remark, you can smile. Someone ignores you, you can stay composed. A baseless attack, you can do nothing, knowing they're not speaking about you, but from their own wounds. If you've ever been swept into a reaction wave without thinking, you're not alone. But you don't have to stay there. Starting today, you can create space between stimulus and action. You can rebuild your operating system, not based on societal programming, but on the freedom you deserve. Comment below, I'm breaking free from automatic reactions. Hit like if you have ever reacted just to please others. And subscribe if you want to keep reshaping yourself, not by society's mold, but by the forge of your inner strength. Practical tools, building emotional strength. How do you stop being triggered by others? How do you avoid being pulled into an emotional spiral when someone makes a negative comment, ignores you, or misuses their authority? The answer isn't avoiding people or situations. It's in a skill you can train daily, emotional strength. This isn't innate, it's built through small actions, moments when you pause, observe, and choose mindful responses over instinctive reactions. Building emotional strength doesn't require expensive courses or grand events. It requires one thing: commitment. Commitment to stop living on autopilot. Commitment to not let emotions dictate actions. Commitment to forge a steadier inner world than yesterday, even by just 1%. This is cultivated through simple yet transformative tools, powerful if you truly practice them. Tool 1. The pause. Most people controlled by emotions make the same mistake. They react instantly. They reply to texts in anger, comment while hurt, or spit harsh words to vent. But a pause, just 3 to 5 seconds, can change everything. Pausing detaches you from the chemical rush in your body. It opens a space where reason can step in before action. Take 3 deep breaths. Count to 5. Place a hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. That's it. You're no longer a puppet of emotion. You're the conductor of your mind. Tool 2. Observe emotions, don't become them. When angry, don't say I'm angry as if it's your fixed identity. Say I'm feeling anger. This reminds you that emotions are temporary. They come and go. They aren't you. You're the one witnessing the anger, not the anger itself. Practice this when emotions surge. Name the feeling. Describe it like an outsider. My heart's racing, my fists are clenched, my throat feels hot. Naming emotions reclaims control. You're not swept by the wave, you're riding it. Tool 3. Write to clarify and transform. Writing is a potent way to untangle thoughts and process emotions. Each night, spend 10 minutes noting 3 things. What triggered a reaction today, how you reacted, and how you'd respond differently if given another chance. For example, today I was criticized in a meeting. I felt hurt and withdrew. If I could redo it, I'd ask calmly for clarification and stay composed. Writing isn't about judging right or wrong. It's about seeing yourself in your inner mirror. Over time, you'll spot recurring patterns, familiar triggers, and progress you've made. Tool 4. Question your beliefs. Questioning isn't self-doubt. It's a habit of filtering old beliefs. When triggered, ask, what belief is driving this reaction? Is there evidence against it? Where did this belief come from? Real experience or imagination? For instance, if you feel slighted because someone didn't reply to your message, ask, am I sure they're ignoring me on purpose? Could they just be busy? Does this belief stem from when a childhood friend abandoned me? Questioning frees you from unexamined assumptions. Dismantling one false belief breaks a link in the chain of unconscious reactions. Tool 5. Active acceptance. Acceptance isn't resignation. It's embracing reality as it is. Someone dislikes you? Accept it. Someone misunderstands you? Accept it. Things don't go as planned? Accept it. When you stop demanding the world bend to your will, you gain energy to steer yourself. Stoics don't try to shape the world to their mood. They shape their mind to adapt while holding core values. This comes from active acceptance. No resentment, no sulking, no denial. These tools are worthless without intentional habit building. Emotional strength doesn't come from one explosive moment. It's forged in hundreds of small choices to not react. Make these tools rituals. Each morning ask, how will I choose to respond today, no matter what happens? Each night write, where did I choose calm and where can I improve? Treat every day as a training round. Don't compare to others, compare to yesterday's you. Emotional strength isn't about constant happiness or perfect control. It's about standing firm amid chaotic emotions without losing sight of your core values. You don't need to become unfeeling. The more you can feel yet stay unswayed, the stronger you are. If you've ever thought you're too sensitive, too easily affected, too fragile, no, that's not the issue. The issue is you haven't yet learned to use emotions as tools instead of letting them use you. You can start now. Comment, I'm training my emotional strength daily if you're ready to practice. Hit like if any of these tools feel like they could free you from exhausting unconscious reactions. And subscribe if you want to keep building a powerful inner life with me through every choice, action, and intentional moment. Reframing triggers, rewriting mental scripts. When someone triggers you, they're touching an unhealed wound within. A gentle critique might feel like an insult. Silence might feel like abandonment. A sidelong glance might revive feelings of being belittled. These small things wouldn't hurt if an older version of you hadn't been wounded, uncomforted, unexamined, unresolved. In those moments, you're not reacting to others' actions, but to an old psychological script replaying automatically within you. We all carry mental scripts, inner narratives learned from childhood, family, school, society. These scripts are like a movie you've watched hundreds of times, so when a similar scene unfolds in real life, You instinctively replay the same emotions, reactions, and lines. The problem? That movie no longer fits your current life. If you don't see this, you'll stay trapped in responses that don't serve your growth, only recycling pain. Reframing, redefining a situation, is the key to breaking old scripts and crafting a story that's more mature, more mindful. When a trigger hits, instead of assuming, this is an insult, this is rejection, or this is failure, ask, can I see this differently? This doesn't deny your emotions. It opens the possibility of interpreting events in a way that fosters growth rather than retreat. For example, a friend doesn't reply to your text for 3 days. The old script kicks in. I'm unimportant. I'm always abandoned. No one truly needs me. But if you practice reframing, you ask, is there another way to see this? Maybe they're dealing with something personal. Maybe they're not into constant texting. Could I be seeking validation to soothe an old fear they're not obligated to fix? By considering alternatives, your brain stops locking onto one story. This creates space to choose a response over a reaction. The beauty is, you don't need to fully believe the new perspective to try it. Just allow the possibility. The moment you admit, maybe the story I'm believing isn't entirely true, you start escaping the prison of your old script. Reframing isn't self-deception. It's radical honesty, forcing you to examine what you believe and trace its roots. If you think I'm not good enough because of a rejection, ask, where did I learn this? From a real experience or a childhood criticism? Does it still apply to who I am today? Digging to the source reveals many beliefs driving you are outdated conclusions from a younger, less informed, less compassionate self. You can practice reframing daily as a habit. When something bothers you, write down the story you're believing. For example, I'm hurt because my boss didn't acknowledge my effort. The story I believe is, if I'm not recognized, I'm worthless. Then rewrite it. My boss's silence might reflect their work style. I don't need external validation to know my worth. I can acknowledge my efforts and keep growing. Writing shifts focus from others to you, a hallmark of emotional strength, not tying your essence to external feedback. Stoics live this way. Exiled, Epictetus didn't call it tragedy, but a chance to practice virtue. Facing illness, betrayal, and war, Marcus Aurelius didn't label it cruel, but natural, and resisting only adds to my suffering. They didn't let circumstances define meaning. They defined it, choosing perspectives that preserve dignity, peace, and action. You can apply this daily. A rejection? See it as filtering out the wrong fit. A mistake? View it as data for improvement, not a verdict. Misunderstood? Choose dialogue if needed or silence if they're uninterested. Both can come from strength, not weakness. Reframing helps you recover faster from negative experiences. Instead of replaying old self-blame, you craft an inner narrative that supports you. You don't need others to lift you. You rewrite your inner dialogue. When the dialogue changes, emotions shift. When emotions shift, actions follow. When actions change, your life's outcomes transform. A crucial part is forgiving your past self, the one who believed limiting stories, reacted poorly, or hurt others out of inner pain. Rewriting scripts doesn't mean erasing who you were. It's saying, I understand why I was that way. I'm choosing differently now, not because I was bad, but because I've grown. Practice reframing daily with 3 questions. What am I believing? Is it absolutely true? Is there a perspective that makes me grow or feel more at peace? Answers don't need to be perfect. Just asking means you're no longer a victim of unconscious reactions. You're an architect of your inner world. If old stories have dragged you into unwanted negative emotions, now's the time to rewrite. No one else can do it for you, and no one can stop you once you're ready. Comment, I choose to rewrite my inner script. Hit like if you feel old beliefs no longer serve you. Share this video if you believe someone around you is living in a story that needs rewriting with compassion, awareness, and agency. Subscribe to keep designing your mind, not just understanding yourself, but daring to transform daily. Boundary and identity, the power of self-knowing. If you don't know who you are, others will decide for you. Without clear boundaries, you'll be swept away by others' demands, expectations, emotions, and reactions until you lose yourself. When you lose yourself, even small actions from others can feel threatening. You become vulnerable, easily triggered, and overreactive, not because you're weak, but because you lack a fixed inner anchor. Boundaries and identity are two sides of the same coin. Your identity, who you are, what you stand for, your core values, forms the foundation for setting boundaries. Your boundaries, what you allow or refuse to let affect you, are the fence protecting that identity from eroding over time. In a modern world drowning you in thousands of media messages, opinions, societal standards, and achievement pressures, the most crucial skill isn't keeping up, it's standing still. That stillness comes from self-knowing. When you know who you are, others' opinions don't sway you. When you know what's enough for you, you don't strain to prove yourself. When you know what's non-negotiable, you stop instead of bending to please. Self-knowing isn't a one-time act, but a continuous return. Start by asking, what truly matters to me? Reputation or authenticity? Talent or compassion? Freedom or security? Each answer is a piece of the identity you live by. The more honest you are, the clearer the line between what you hold and what you release. One reason we're easily triggered is unclear boundaries. A friend says something upsetting. You don't speak up or reset the limit, so you harbor resentment that festers into hurt. A colleague oversteps. You stay silent to avoid conflict, then feel violated without knowing why. A family member meddles in your choices. You yield thinking it's duty, but resentment builds inside. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're how you tell the world, this is where I begin and others end. They're an expression of self-respect and a way to preserve mental energy, not squandered on the unnecessary. Without boundaries, you live to react. With them, you live to express. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nothing is good or bad unless you allow it to affect your mind." This is a profound reminder of your power to set inner boundaries. Others can act or speak as they wish, but whether you let it pierce your core is your choice. To wield that power, you need a clear sense of identity. Imagine you're someone who values honesty. A colleague says you're too blunt and lack professional finesse. Without a solid identity, you'd feel hurt, react with anger, or feel misunderstood. But if your anchored in honesty outweighs superficial approval, you can receive that feedback calmly. You don't need to argue or change. You know you're living true. Without boundaries, you're adrift. Someone asks you to work late. You agree, though exhausted. Someone needs help you're reluctant to give. You say yes, fearing judgment. You say yes to everything, but no to yourself. Over time, this erodes your identity. You stray from your core. You lose direction. You become more fragile than ever. Setting boundaries isn't about building walls, but drawing lines of mutual respect. They don't need to be harsh. Sometimes it's saying, I need time to think this over. Or I respect your view, but I'm choosing differently. Or I can't take this on right now. These simple phrases protect your identity, keeping your spirit intact from obligation or guilt. Here's the fascinating part. When you live with clear boundaries and identity, others sense it. They stop testing your limits. They behave differently, not because you control them, but because you've mastered yourself. People can't easily trigger you because you're not scrambling for approval. You've approved yourself. An incredible stability. Self-knowing comes from experience, not just thought. Notice when you feel at ease, conflicted, or unlike yourself. Each moment is a clue. Journal, reflect, and discern what truly matters to you. When you're grounded in this, no one can define you but you. If you're frequently triggered, swayed by others, or caught in exhausting emotional loops, pause and ask, where are my boundaries? What's my identity? Am I living by fear or values? These questions return you to your center, where you stop chasing or reacting and simply are, strong and clear. Comment, I choose to live with a clear identity and healthy boundaries if you're ready to build inner strength. Hit like if you've ever been swept away by what's not yours. Subscribe to keep returning to your true essence. No need to be someone else, just becoming clear about you. Triggers become teachers, turning fire into fuel. Have you ever felt rattled when a small comment sparked an emotional explosion? Or when someone's silence tapped into a deep fear, leaving you disoriented? These moments when someone or something provokes a strong reaction are called triggers, points of activation. In modern culture, trigger often carries a negative connotation, something to avoid or blame others for touching. But for those practicing mindfulness, walking the path of inner mastery, triggers aren't enemies, they're teachers. If you're brave enough to sit with them, observe them, you'll find behind the hurt lies a door to freedom, a lesson needed to reach a new level of personal growth. A trigger arises when something in the present brushes against an unhealed memory from the past. It could be a childhood sense of abandonment, judgment for falling short, or a belief you're not good enough, not worthy of love. These feelings may lie buried for years, seemingly gone, but they're still there, waiting for the right spark to flare up like an unclosed wound. The first thing to understand, a trigger doesn't come to harm you. It comes to show you where healing is needed. When triggered, instead of asking, why did they do this to me? Try asking, what is this revealing about me? This is the first step to turning a trigger into a teacher. By stopping the external blame, you turn your focus inward. You see what's being awakened, a past wound, an unnamed fear, a limiting belief you've never questioned. Only by recognizing it can you work with it. Stoicism teaches that you can't control the world, but you can control how you respond to it. This isn't just a nice saying, it's a profound practical principle. When a trigger hits, you have two choices: react with old habits, anger, pain, withdrawal, retaliation, or observe the emotion. Step into the gap between stimulus and action and learn something new about yourself. The moment you choose the second path, you're no longer a victim of the trigger. You're using the fire of emotion to illuminate parts of your mind that have stayed in shadow. A trigger becomes fuel for growth when you shift how you face it. Instead of asking, how do I stop others from hitting this weak spot? Ask, what do I need to learn so this weakness no longer controls me? This moves you from avoidance to transformation. You stop fearing triggers and start welcoming them as guides. Like an athlete who doesn't shy from muscle pain, knowing it builds strength, you learn to endure discomfort to dig into the roots of your emotions and restructure your belief system. For instance, if someone's silence triggers you, trace it back. What does silence mean to me? Abandonment? Unimportance? Am I demanding others communicate a certain way to feel secure? If I let go of that demand, what's left inside me? Such questions open vast inner space, where you're not just healing one emotion, but reshaping your entire perception. Your response to triggers reflects your stage of growth. A beginner might feel frustrated, angry, or withdrawn when triggered. That's okay. But someone practicing mindfulness longer notices signs earlier, pauses sooner, observes deeper. Over time, each trigger becomes a chance to practice presence, self-compassion, in transforming raw emotion into profound wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "When someone does something that bothers you, remember it's your opinion of it, not the thing itself, that causes your distress." This isn't just about awareness. It's a call to action. Return to your thoughts and rewrite your inner story. Triggers turn into fuel when you act differently. Awareness is step 1, observation is step 2, but you need step 3, new behavior. Each time you choose silence over an outburst when triggered, you're rewiring your nervous system. Each time you express emotions clearly instead of fleeing, you're reclaiming your place in relationships. Each time you move forward instead of locking yourself in rejection's grip, you're forging a new version of yourself. Stronger, clearer, less shaken. No trigger is random. Each is a sign from the universe, your subconscious, your deep beliefs, saying something here needs to be seen, faced, understood, released. You can ignore it, and that's fine. But if you want to grow, if you want to stop waiting for others to change so you can feel peace, see each trigger as a gift for development. Recall your last trigger. Write down what happened, the emotions you felt, the story you believed, and how you reacted. Then add, is there another way to see this? If it happens again, how do I want to respond? What skill do I need to practice to do that? Writing this turns a trigger into a lesson. Each lesson brings you closer to inner freedom, where no one can disorient you because you know your direction from within. If you're ready to see triggers as teachers, comment, "I choose to learn from my emotions, not run from them." Hit like if you believe hurt isn't an endpoint, but a starting point. Subscribe to keep building inner strength from the roots, where even pain becomes fuel for rising. You've walked with me through a challenging journey, facing reactions, wounds, and weaknesses that once made you feel small in your own life. If you're here, it means you're done living the old way. You're done being ruled by emotions, letting others hit your weak spots, or losing your way. You're ready to live consciously, selectively, with an inner strength no one can take away. You've learned a core truth. No one can trigger you unless you allow it. That allowance is unconscious when you don't know yourself. But from now on, you can choose differently. You can set boundaries, define your core values, practice responding instead of reacting, and use every emotion as a doorway back to yourself. If you're serious about this growth, comment below, "I'm not triggered, I learn from my emotions." Hit like if a moment in this video made you feel seen or understood. Share this video with a friend who needs a reminder they don't have to live like a leaf in a storm. And subscribe if you want to keep exploring your inner world and mastering yourself. Not through empty theory, but through small daily choices. Emotional freedom isn't a destination. It's how you live each moment, and you can start right now.